All right, good afternoon. We have moved into our WSU Extension 2020 Budget Workshop. Before we get started, we'll just do a quick round of introductions for the record.
Sharon Trask,
Deeper Allen,
Tom Davis,
Dan Tuderberg,
Patricia Grover,
Lisa DeWall,
Leo Kim.
Twitty, Jennifer Byerly.
Randy Netherland.
And Kevin Chudy. Okay, very good. Jennifer, do you have any thoughts on how to do you guys just want to present and then we can ask questions? Does that work?
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
works great.
Perfect.
So I'll start. This is just a brief meeting to talk about our requests, a little bit different this year than in years past. If you guys have any questions for us on that and some reasons why I think we should have a little bit higher ask for this next year. And Pat is joining us as well for the Noxious Weed side of our extension budget. So the budget's pretty straightforward. Like in years past, working with the commission here, we don't pad our budget. This is our actual budget of what our needs are and our requests are. This year's budget is a little bit different, as I worked with you a few months ago, talking about our natural resources position, getting that back as an AP. So looking at the overage of $18,500 for that request. $15,000 of that would be a matching piece. If you put that forth, WSU will cover the rest of that position. $1,000 will be for supplies operations, $1,500 for travel, and $1,500 for I think a laptop, and $1,000 for travel for that position coming from the county side. And then the other piece of that is what you'll see is support for the noxious weed position, temporary help piece. I'll let Pat talk a little bit about why that position is a really key position.
Okay. I guess some of you know, and I've pretty much been a one-person shop since I started, and we have a sort of ongoing coming and going of personnel assisting as a result of additional grant fundings that we receive. So I think as the program has stabilized, the community is now aware of who we are, what we do, and what we have available, and grant funding seems to be somewhat consistent. It's kind of time to keep a person in place. We've been funding them for slightly less than half-time, but in order to get the work done, we would like to have that person go a bit over that. The funding is there, but as a result of that, we need to accommodate the Affordable Care Act and the costs that go with that. So I think most of the increase in request is for medical and dental benefits. And that also is going to provide that continuity piece. I'm not going to be here forever, and so it's a good way to have another person in place and starting to learn the program and be able to provide that next step. That's pretty much what I have.
I just do have a letter of support. You've seen this, I believe it came in your email system. A letter of support from Community Services kind of saying the subject workshops are extremely valuable and growing, and they partner with us to deliver that program. So this is from Alex, and he said it's awesome. So, and like he said, those numbers I shared with you at our last commissioner meeting, those numbers are unbelievable for people attending the education side of subject workshops. Who would have thought?
And I just have something to add to the noxious weed position with that extra help position. They are now at a point this year, and we have money in the budget where they are going to be going over their hours and will be getting paid medical benefits for the remainder of this year. And so if Pat were to keep that person on that she now has trained and and they're working well, she would be required to continue to pay medical benefits into 2020. Otherwise, if there isn't funding, she would be forced to let that person go and then have to search for a new person, for next summer. So then we have, all those costs involved with training a new person and looking for someone who's qualified, which is, she's had difficulty finding people qualified.
Mm-hmm.
So just something else.
Okay, commissioners?
I have the first question here. I see that we have the level 3 VOCC level. Is that the last year's with the adjustments in like salary and increases, and then minus the PRs? Except for?
Yeah, just not including, yes, not including the
All right,
PRs.
thank you.
Yes.
A few questions, office supplies, you've had an increase of 1,000, just curious what is making the difference?
That's the office support for the supplies for the natural resources position that we're adding back in to the budget.
Trackable equipment, $1,000? Is that laptop for them? Okay. All right, the WSU MOU, I think you just explained that one.
Is that the 15?
15,
The 15,000, you guys give 15, and then WSU covers the rest of that position.
Travel, $1,500 difference in travel.
For that natural resources person to travel around the county doing their thing.
All around the county, okay.
Yes, around the county.
Extra help seasonal, increase of 2768. More time?
Correct.
That's for the
That's for noxious
noxious weed
weeds.
side, yeah,
Mhm.
so the bottom half.
That's all I have.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, pretty straightforward. Anything, Commissioner Trask? Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
I appreciate your time, as always, if you have more questions, reach out, we're happy to answer them.
Well, they were all as cut and dry as extension.
I can only imagine. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Ketos.
Thanks. Yeah.
We're moving into our next.
The commission and us. So there's a. It's a copy from you, Diane, since it's ours, so I have to get a picture of the copy. That's just our two PORs, and then the rest is our spreadsheets like that. Okay. Copies. And Diane, were you going to do the commission?
I can, yes. Do you want to do that first?
Yeah, let's do that first.
So for the commissioner's budget, the only real change is the 1% on your salaries, that's by resolution. And then the changes to any benefits. We do only have Commissioner Netherland in for the retirement system. So that's where you see a decrease, actually. Because we went into 2019 anticipating for 2 commissioners. But I didn't change any of your operating or anything.
So our travel is, we're at 1,000, we're down to 500. Realistically, I mean, is that as low as we can go?
You can go to 0.
Well, but I mean, I know that there are some things like risk pool, for instance,
They
that
get-
we have to pay first and they get reimbursed from.
Right.
So is.
Do they remember, okay.
they
So
have
that
to pay
would-
it.
Okay, I mean, that's about all that we ever seem to get submitted. Yeah, but it's a commissioner option to submit up to the $500. There's been times when we have had that at zero, but.
Yeah. I was just curious, I didn't know if there was, if we wanted to,
Think about increasing it as.
no, I wouldn't increase it, I would lower it, but I didn't know, you know, just kind of what issue that would create with some of those reimbursables, like what realistically we would.
That's the only board I can think of that you would actually pay up front and get reimbursed for. Because any other board would just reimburse you your travel direct, I think. I don't know, like Gary used to, I don't know if they still do, but.
Yeah, all my years, the only thing I've ever used is one, but at the same time, I would like us to actually consider the opposite. I think as we're going through, we need to start talking about, I don't know if you want to call it travel as much as it is education and stuff. I think it's beneficial to go to some of these things and classes and start to learn. I think we should do that with all of our electeds, to let them take advantage of those opportunities. I think it's important. I think we did away with all that because there was nothing available at all, but I think they all should have opportunities to start going out and getting trained, especially if we get a couple new ones. Just my opinion.
For us, what would there be?
It'd be the same as we do for whatever electeds. I don't know that I'd ever even use it, but if somebody wants to take a class and it's somewhere else, I think you should. You know, I think I should. I think we all should. If something comes up, we ought to be able to take advantage of it and do it. I've done it in the past by just paying myself. But at the same time, I'd like to see all of us.
Yeah, well, and I think this is a conversation we've had before too, is just like, what is there for, and I'm just talking about our 500.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know, what do
We
we
don't have
what do
much
we
in the
have
way of
available to us?
options.
And it's never really been clear to me what trainings exist that we would potentially be paying for.
In the past, past boards have attended the WSAC conferences, which of course there's the travel costs, the hotel, and there's always a conference fee.
Mhm.
Because under your due subscription, member, the 26-24, plus you have $1,000 in miscellaneous, that's where we pay an actual like conference fee.
Mhm.
Then your travel is for actual mileage of wherever you may go that you submit, because it can be meetings or trainings or wherever you need to go for county business.
Mhm.
So this upcoming conference in November, is that one of them that gets charged to that 500 or?
Your travel, once you've
Travel.
gone, and then your actual fee would be paid from probably the $49.40, the dues subscription.
I'm fine doing it at the 500, I just, you know, for the sake of conversation.
And then the $200 insurance bond that I have as a negative PLR, are you okay with me putting that into the budget level 3 column as a 0?
Yeah, I am, commissioners.
Yep.
And that is because, we're paying it all the non-departmental now.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on to non-departmental then,
You got a tag number?
300.
Just real quick, looking at our revenue. You have a donation in there of $824 for 2020.
That was just carried forward because I put no revenues in.
I paid in last year.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And I didn't anticipate any for 2020, so I hadn't submitted any revenue.
So should we
So-
take that out?
Yes,
Yeah.
unless they want to donate $824.
As long as they aren't laying anybody off, I guess I'll keep the money inside.
Okay, I took it out of level 3.
Okay.
to make it 0.
All right. What are we moving on to next?
Non-departmental?
Yeah, the victim witness grant, what makes us think we're getting that, do we know?
So that dollar amount comes from the prosecutor's office, and I actually tried to call her just before this to get a clearer picture, since I didn't put any notes in there. So I'll get a hold of her after this and then let you know exactly what that is. I know it's, the grant amount, she has it coming into, part of it goes into non-departmental, part of it goes into the child support enforcement, and then I believe part of it goes into the victim witness activity fund, so it's very, pieced together. So I'll get more information on that and let you know for sure. The victim witness activity fund 114 is one that really could come back into current expense, and I'm thinking that it would probably help to make this not so complicated.
Do we know why we're increasing the notification?
Yes, I believe.
Because this year we've already overexpended what we had.
Yeah, so just increased volume and costs.
And what is that for?
Our county code.
Oh, okay.
So the more activity we have, especially if we do any kind of planning updates, those really drive a lot of cost. Because that's,
Okay.
what's in the code.
Okay, so there is a PLR for Fund 300. Do we want to just go through that
Sure.
line by line? Okay, so the increase to the CDBG Public Services Grant and the CDBG Economic Opportunity Grant, the $200,229, those are both just, they come in and go out. So that's what that is. And the victim witness, we already went over that a little bit. I'll find out a little more about that. And the increase to the code, we went over that. The line 6, the increase to the ORCA annual payment for $1,985. That one's, I believe, a maintenance level. We should move it to maintenance. Are we doing that at this point, or you're just wanting to kind of get?
Well, if it's absolute maintenance, then we move it over, but if it's questionable,
So I think so what is the increase? Did they increase their dues?
Yes, so that's a set amount.
So I would say that's maintenance.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
Can't come down on that, Commissioner.
I wish. I got one commissioner in there that the first thing he said the very first day is, I think we need to talk about increasing our fees to the counties and cities. That's how we should raise our revenue. Oh, wow, what a first day. Didn't go well.
The next line, the $54,000 ask for outside auditing services. So that is, so currently we're at $16,000 for our Teresa Johnson CPA that helps us out with our financials. And the auditor's office has gotten a bid, I believe, from Asset Works for doing work on or helping us out with our inventories for the capital assets. So 30,000 of that is an ask for helping us out with our small tools and then our capital.
Now, they already had brought that to us before, and I thought we told them to go ahead. Didn't we? We had talked, we had talked about increasing that line item.
You had already talked about
Yeah,
increasing.
specifically for that, and we had discussed and said we should increase it.
Is that for 2019 or 2020?
There you go.
2020.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Can we get a little bit more detail on that? Can you look it up? Do you remember when? Well, I don't know. You remember that we did, so. Is there any way we
That'd
can
be
run that?
impressive if I did.
Figure that out.
Yeah, we could research it.
That'd be great.
Because if we did, and we had already said we should, I think that should be a
Yeah,
maintenance.
so put that in the,
In the maintenance?
well, put that in the maybe until.
In the maybe,
figure out if it
In the
was-
maybe pile.
Yeah, if we figure out if it was just for 2019 or if it was for 2020.
And with that, we took the 15 out of the assessors as well at that time, if I remember correctly, that, because we were using those funds through the general fund instead of,
Out of the auditor's office.
sorry,
Yeah.
that's on that. One of the A's.
Okay, and then the remaining $24,000 ask on that is to increase the Teresa Johnson CPA services. Since we do only have the 16,000 and her service has proven to be very valuable since we've went from our audit costs of being, I believe they were around 350,000 at one point in time, and now they're at less than 100, so doing things like
Well,
this.
that's the same thing, I'm positive we talked about that one, that was very important to us.
It's just out of curiosity, what would be the difference in the level of service that would receive for that?
So this year for 2019, a lot of it was helping the clerk's office. So for 2020, we'll, I have a request out to the public health we offered to help them with their grants and so forth. Haven't really received a firm answer to that yet. There's
We think you
unlimited,
probably might soon.
what's that?
We think you might soon on that.
So there's unlimited help that we could provide to the county with internal control. It's unbelievable.
So is this one of those, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure
It
kind of
is,
thing?
yes. You'll
That increase.
you'll save so much money. It's a wise investment.
Well,
And I'll have an audit committee update in the next couple of weeks to present to the board.
this will be put in place at one point to be our outside auditor, so because we were thinking about bringing somebody in, but we really couldn't afford just to do that, we're in the middle of the budget cuts. They stepped
And,
forward and we wanted to
yeah,
have
so
somebody outside
basically,
the house.
the CPA firm is a backup
Yeah.
for my position.
Yeah.
My position is a key position. The person before me, when she basically left, she kind of abandoned the position. It was chaos, and then I came in and fixed everything. But normally you don't have somebody with my expertise to fix everything. So she's my backup plus to prevention, proactive things. A long story. I'll spare you all the boring details.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's, okay, that helps.
So for now, put it as in the maybe pile.
Oh, just for now, I mean, I
Okay.
see the value in it, that would be my preference, just for now as we kind of go through, I mean, we don't want to spend all our money in the second workshop.
We definitely will look at that, because we did have those discussions, so I'd like to find it.
Yeah, support services is coming, so.
Yeah,
let's
I know, right?
say something.
And then the next line is 15,000, a decrease in assessor services. We're not using non-departmental to pay for the GIS assessor services, so we're asking to eliminate that from next year's budget. So that's okay to move to the maintenance. And again, the $229 and then the $200,000, that's just the grant coming out. And the $167,000, that is insurance. So our insurance costs have been rising, and the estimation is 25% for 2020.
And so when you say insurance, we're talking risk pool, or?
Yes.
Okay.
It's our actual premium, right, Dawn?
Yes.
We actually took the hit this year, which will flow into being able to budget it next year.
And so do you consider that to be a maintenance level, the insurance then?
I did, I did.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay.
So are we good with the codification increase, the 5,500?
Yeah.
So maintenance.
Okay, so that takes care of non-departmental.
There was another PLR in there for trial court improvement.
Oh, yes, that one, that's just basically a maintenance level, I would think. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, so Ross isn't here yet, so we will skip Fund 134, the National Forest Safety for now. And, we have the Sales and Use Tax Fund, 103. For rural sales and use tax.
When we're doing these, I sure wish I had actuals somewhere.
I can print out the actual, like the year-to-date actuals.
Just to see that we're on par to make the numbers that we're taking. I'm sure we are, I trust you guys, but at the same time, that's our job to look at that and make sure that we
Right.
think that we're gonna reach those numbers too.
Yeah, that's a good point. They are in the spreadsheets online, but they're hidden in the the columns are hidden. So, but it would be helpful to have that, I think, just in front of you, so yeah, I'll do that from now on.
Do you know which column it is?
It is.
It's a secret too.
And the one in here is outdated since these were done in June.
And even in the prelim has to the end of August, correct?
The prelim,
In this document?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says at the end of August.
Just to say, because I printed pages from that, just for reference, because I was curious too where we were to the date.
Well, then I don't feel like I communicated.
it's column J in the expenditures. Oh, and in the revenue. So Fund 103 on the revenue side. We're increasing the revenue to 700,000 based on the projections for this year. And then the investment in interest, we're increasing that. Nothing was, I guess there was something budgeted, that bars lines changed. So increasing that by just under $2,000. So I'll move those to maintenance level.
Okay.
And on the expense side, sorry, I have too many columns open in the item. The City of Shelton sewer payments, I included that in the maintenance level. And then we just have the Economic Development Council, the 68,000. I did call and leave a message for Jennifer today because I have not received the application back from them, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the 68,000 again. You might have a better idea of that.
I don't.
Okay.
This time, I don't.
Okay.
Last time I did, I know what we said, then they delivered one that was, what, 15,000 or 20,000 more, I'm like, what the?
30.
Well, 30, because they had talked to one commissioner, and the commissioner said, yeah, do it. Wasn't the commissioner on the board, it wasn't the other one, it was a shock to all of us.
Wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
Okay, I'll try her again.
Just for the record.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, if I don't hear anything back today, since we're getting down to the wire. Okay, great. But yeah, that one, no other changes besides that.
Okay.
Well, what's the difference in the ending fund balance?
Oh, the ending fund balance, that's just where we're projecting it
Yeah.
to be. So, so I look at, next year, where we're at right now in cash, the revenue that's coming in, the expenses going out that are budgeted, and that's.
What's the maintenance, it's 42. Right.
Yeah, that's just because last year's was 418,000, I believe.
Well, that's this year's.
That's if
Let's see.
I
Original
take-
budget 495,237.
If I took the budget, last year's budget, and took, last year's projected revenue, and then took last year's expenditures for the budget, the 418, I believe, is where we would end up. But since I am estimating for the revenues that are actually coming in, the projection is 460,000. So that's where that difference is coming in. And it's actually 460 plus the 105, the 105,000. We did the reserve policy, and, we're reserving that
That
105,000.
That makes sense.
operating.
That's a piece that's missing, thank you.
Okay.
If I may also, your revenue's increasing $42,000 and you're not increasing expenses.
Yeah.
So that falls to ending fund balance.
But it wasn't showing it that way, though. The ending fund balance was decreasing.
Oh, from 495 to 460.
But if we've done.
But we're putting it into reserve.
Yeah, and if we put it into our reserve, that's the piece that was missing, so I'm very comfortable with that.
Okay, so next is going to be lodging tax, Fund 163.
So the revenues seem to be increasing in this fund, and you have approved the North Mason's Visitor Information Center amount. We'll have a meeting in November to firm up for the other services. But these all go through the process of lodging tax, they come here for approval, so this is what we're anticipating. There'll be probably a couple more contracts, but it'll come from that non-committed line.
And the only change on this is going to be the investment, which again is the same with the maintenance.
Maybe this year we can get rid of that, line item for Olympic, that's still doing alive.
It's been nothing budgeted for a number of years now. We could probably retire that one.
I'll make a note to ask the auditors to inactivate. And then everything else in here is maintenance level then? Okay. And the next one is going to be Veterans Assistance, Fund 190.
Now, we had a discussion about, the next page.
Yeah, we did have a discussion. They came and asked about increasing their levy. And so our question to you is, do we want to entertain increasing the levy, or do we want to do just a one-time transfer instead, or do we want to leave it status quo? You know, that would be.
Can you refresh my memory as to how much the levy increase would affect current expense?
I don't know.
It was around, I think it was in the 40s.
Yes.
It was not the most that you could increase it.
What you have, and no, it wasn't even close, because we're at the very bare minimum of what we
Right.
can charge, or what we give them now. This would have increased it by, about half, basically, so they had the ability to function with them. They've always been really good with their money in comparison, they don't ever bust. But it'd be nice if we can give them the tools to take it further. They came before us, but we decided to put it as a PLR, but I hope it's one of those PLRs that we will seriously consider to put forward if we don't make the decision today.
The nice thing about doing a transfer is you would have still control over that money in the future, like if the economy goes south, just a consideration to make.
But then they also could be in a situation in 2 years, if something like not here, they're not, you're not here, and all of a sudden it's pulled out underneath them. I wouldn't want to see that. Continuity is important.
And I am watching their cash, because they are pushing it. They're spending, last year, and I know this year, they're on their way to spending more than what they've taken in.
Ooh, somebody say ow after that one? They're okay. I thought I heard an ow.
Oh, they're probably doing that display case.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll break it.
Okay, thank you.
There we go, thumbs up. Okay. I'd actually like to hold that until closer to the end, so we have an idea of kind of where we're at.
Okay.
Commissioner Trask, any thoughts?
I'm listening and having it sink in, but I don't want to take any money away from them for sure.
You wouldn't be taken away, but the request is to increase the levy amount to where what they would receive is more than what they receive right now. 'Cause right now, there's a range, and we're at the bottom of it right now, but whatever gets diverted into that fund, it would not go into current expense. So it does impact current expense if we increase their levy. What Jen's saying is, if they have reason to think they need $40,000 more in 2020, and the board wants to help them with that, you could do a transfer from current expense into that fund. One time.
That would not be every year, so if we did a levy.
You could choose, yeah, it would be up to the board each year at budget time. The levy would be what it would be until if the board chose to reduce that levy again or increase it again.
And when's the last time we even adjusted that?
Boy, probably more than 10 years.
Yeah, that's why, you know.
And it is one of the lowest rates
it is-
that's allowable.
Yeah. They've been very good about how they've come to us, they're very respectful and, you know, again, I have no problem, but at the same time, holding off if it was necessary. I do think this is one of the ones that makes sense to do, and then we work around it, but I can understand where you're coming from, and I wouldn't stand against that either.
Yeah, and it's not a, I'm not, don't read that as being opposed.
No, I didn't.
I think, you know, I think even if it is $40,000 or $45,000, you know, I think it would be, it might just be prudent to wait until closer till the end, we have a better picture of where we are with everything.
It's just different ways of doing it, like me, I keep things in blocks in my head, so I see where we're going. Some people want to see it all right down at the end, it all comes out the same in the end, we get there.
So the amount that's shown in the PLR column, the 8360, that really is a maintenance
Yeah.
level thing, as long as we're going to do the 1% increase to property tax. So.
The maintenance part I have no problem with. You know, the only question I think is before us is the 44.
Okay, so you're okay with me moving the 8360 into maintenance?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then on the expenditures. We don't carry the ending fund balance in here, so really there's no PLR, it just, that negative 44,103 is moved into maintenance.
Because we just budget their entire cash. That way it's available if they need it.
And they have, but, you know, again, I want to give them props because they seem to, the thing is, the more successful they are, the more money they need, because the more successful they are, the more they're reaching out and finding new people that aren't needing them, so it's just one of those things.
Okay, so for now, they have a balanced budget, but yeah, in case we want to increase it. So next is the Lake Management District. So first we have Mason Lake, which is 194.
And we work with the citizens group, they submit their budgets, and it's based on what they anticipate from their rate and charge.
So this isn't even really with us.
Yeah, we just kind of facilitate.
Yep.
Yeah, we pay their bills for them and all that.
Yeah, so for theirs, I mean, they don't even have a change in their revenue from last year. They're not spending a ton of money, so, you know, they don't even need an increase. So, there isn't a lot to talk about on them. So maybe we can move everything to maintenance level and their expenses.
Hey, can we go back for a second? There's a question I want to ask, and if I don't ask it now, I'll forget. I don't even know if you're going to have the ability to answer this. Frank, on the Veterans Fund, you set this money aside specifically for the purpose of them divvying it out. I've been having different discussions with some of the entities that are going out and people going out in the woods and stuff like that. And we've had those talks about the shower tokens and other things. One of the things that I came up with as an idea is being able to give them a stipend for each application that goes out or whatever, with the idea, just like at the state level, that they're 80 or 70% successful with their applications. If we were to set up an account that had like $10,000, you know, 5,000 or 5,000 south, that they would have to show proof of and dole out during the year to maybe 2 different organizations. Would that go in there, or would it go somewhere else?
Using the veterans' money for that service?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking if we would do it through using veterans' money for that, or maybe going through the health department and the homeless and stuff. And that's so restrictive, I don't know that it could be done yet.
This is for indigent veterans, so they would have to be screened people to receive the money. So you're thinking of an increased service for basically the homeless veteran?
No, that's the problem, because I'm not just thinking homeless, I'm thinking all vets. You have, you know, being able to use North Mesa Resources as an example. You also have the one out here. They have these people that go out in the woods and stuff. It's nice if they can offer a token. It's nice if they can offer a gas card and stuff. Because there is no place to get that money. So these organizations are finding a way to take it out of their own pocket. Or the guy that's actually going out in the woods is paying for it. He can't afford it. I know that. Looking at the one up there. I thought if we were able to set up something where these organizations can get just a small stipend that could go into their accounts for the applications they put out, it would help them to be more successful. And they can choose how to spend their money. Basically, it becomes a payment that we're giving them for each application they put forward, but the 2 organizations decide how they would spend it out.
They'd still have to be able to prove that it was used for the purpose of the money. Because we did talk about gas cards before with the VAB, and our problem there was to know that they were going to, the veteran who received it qualified for it, and that's what he did with it, and he didn't go sell it to somebody else for cash.
And that's where I'm saying where the difference, find a new way to skin the cat. What I'm talking about is instead paying the organizations for the applications they're putting forward, giving us time for each one they put
To
forward.
the VABs?
Well, one of them will volunteer in the South to be the one that handles all this stuff in the South. They'd all go through them. They're already talking about it in different ways. And in the North End, the same thing would occur. One of the ones they're talking about is North Mesa Resources being the one that they pay for the administration of this money. They pay them 1% or 1,000 basically for administration, and then they put it out through their gift cards. We're paying them for the service. What they do with that money to get it out there is.
And so what's our service though? It's providing services to,
The veterans as a whole.
To veterans.
Being able to get them to go out and get their applications for health, for doctors, for you know, retirement, for medical, for all the
for an
different.
outreach to veterans
Yes.
for the various benefits that they may
Yeah,
qualify for.
but it'd be them that handles that. Ours is just to pay for the application that comes in.
So the nonprofit or whoever we would contract with to say, here's 20,000 and this is your scope of work.
Here's 5,000 for north, 5,000 for south, for for your applications. We'll only pay out this much for applications that are applied for. Again, we'll start out later. I just need to know where I'm supposed to have that conversation put in. Because,
A stipend per application?
yes,
For a vet?
yes.
So it's like the VSO work right now that they do for us where it's, that's broader than that, but right now, the VSOs
Yes.
on volunteer
They're
time
doing it for
complete the
volunteer,
paperwork and
yes.
all that, and then we get them and we pay them their $1,000, whatever.
But by
So
doing
you're saying-
that, they start to find a way to give it to that guy that's going out there and give it in the form of gas cards, and we don't run into a foul with our rules. Because we're giving it to them as the organization, and they agree how it'll be split up.
We need to talk about that internally.
Okay.
To see
Yeah.
where that would.
Yeah, sorry
Maybe.
to throw that in now, I just didn't know where it would be, so we'll just take some time and we'll go over some more
So it'd be contracted services.
contracted services.
Okay, so moving on to the new Spencer Lake Management District, Fund 195. They turned in a budget for $14,500, and so that's the amount that the assessor will levy, and they will begin their they're expending next year.
Begin their first year
That's
going broke. Okay? Well, that's, yeah, not putting anything away at all, just spend it.
That's what it's about.
Okay? As you said, we don't have control over that one, it's just, we have to put it towards.
They ask for it and you get it.
And then Island Lake, their budget is very small. They have their operating assessment of 10,000. And their total budget is 29,000 because they have the beginning fund balance to support that.
And they're increasing the beginning fund. See, that's my, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they're not expending a lot of money. So, go ahead.
No, I'm just waiting for what's next.
Oh, okay. So that's all with the lake management districts, so moving on to unemployment is next. And that's 502, sorry. The very last one.
Back to the next to the last one, that's like, there we go.
Okay, so the revenue is just $200 per FTE, so right now we're budgeted at $71,930 for 2020. And the expenditure side, we don't keep an ending fund balance in here. Normally, the payment is much smaller than, than our $241,000, total budget. But just in case, we like to keep it, with no ending fund balance. That way, in case we owe a lot of money, we don't have to come and ask for a budget supplement, because it is what it is. We will owe what we will owe, so.
We pay back dollar for dollar for unemployment.
Oh,
So when there's layoffs, that's when we see a hit on us.
So, any questions on that one? Okay. Then the last one that we have is the National Forest Safety, Fund 134. And I don't think Ross is looking at it. Okay.
That wasn't good.
Okay.
Oh,
134.
137 on the back, 134 on the front.
Yep.
That's what it says, let it.
Fix that. Yeah. I reused the tabs from last year.
No problem.
Last year was crazy.
As long as we find it, we're all good.
Okay. So on the revenue side, we have, under the county projects, we've budgeted $23,092. So that's a negative PLR of $3,337. And on the expense side, we have a total decrease of $1,079. So everything is pretty status quo, just moving $5,000 from federal SAR supplies down into Firewise program. So do you have any questions on this one? Okay. So we'll move everything into maintenance level on this one, and that's all that we have for you today. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, any discussion? Hearing none, without objection, we'll adjourn for the day.